Okay, so before we can really get into what we're doing today, we're actually going to review something from Algebra 1. So this foldable I gave you is one that we did when we were in Algebra 1, but we still need this skill into geometry and beyond. So this is the foldable that says writing equations using slope-intercept form and writing equations using point-slope form. So both do the same thing. I'm going to show you both, and then you're going to choose the method you prefer to write equations. So it doesn't matter which one you use, they work the same. You just have to decide which one you would like. Okay, so how to write an equation of a line when given 2 points. All right, so first of all, you find the slope. So in this case down here, our example is 1, 4, and 3, 10. So to find the slope, you're going to do, remember, you do y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I'm going to do 10 minus 4 over 3 minus 1. All right, and so you get 10 minus 4 is 6, 3 minus 1 is 2, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. So that's the slope. So it says find the slope, so we have the slope is 3. Okay, now it says, do you know the y-intercept? So it says, do you know the y-intercept? That'd be if you had 0, comma, a number, that would be the y-intercept. So when you look at our points 1, 4, and 3, 10, no, we don't know the y-intercept. So we follow this to the right, which says no. So it says go this way. So it says rewrite y equals mx plus b with numbers substituted in for y, m, and for x, and then solve for b. So let's try that. So down here, since we don't know the y-intercept, we are going to put y equals mx plus b. Now we know m is our slope, and then we don't know b. We always leave b blank because it specifically said, if you looked at the instructions, it said substitute in for y, m, and x. It did not say substitute in for b, so we don't know b. Now, what we put in for y and x, just choose a point. I'm going to choose the first point and use 1, 4. 1 is x, so put a 1 where x is, 4 is y. Okay, so now you have 4 equals 3 times 1 is 3 plus b. And so when you have 3 plus b, you're going to then subtract the 3 to get b by itself, and you get b equals 1. So that's the y-intercept. Now, if you look back up at the top, it says, once you know b, this arrow right here is like, hey, rewrite y equals mx plus b with numbers in for m and b. So m is your slope, that was 3, and b is 1, and so your answer is y equals 3x plus 1. Okay, let's look at the other way right here. So writing equations using point-slope form. Like I said, it does the exact same thing, except it's just a different method. You can use whichever one works for you. So first it says to find the slope. Well, I used the exact same answer that I had used earlier. So when we find the slope, we're still doing the y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, and we're still getting 3. All right. Now it says to choose one point to plug in for x1 and y1. Let's just choose the first point, 1, 4. So 1 is x1, 4 is y1. All right, and then it says to go ahead and plug in y1. Well, y1's 4. M, well, the slope was 3. And x1 was 1. And rewrite the y minus and the x minus. Okay, so plug in y1, m, and x1 into point-slope form. This right here, this is point-slope form. Now the advantage to point-slope form, the disadvantage is it's harder to remember, but the advantage is it's really easy to simplify. So now if you want to simplify so it's y equals, first we distribute the 3, so we get 3x minus 3. And now we want y by itself, so we add the 4 over. So we get y equals 3x plus 1. So same answer both ways, you just have to do the method that you prefer. Okay, so now we're going to look at the parallel lines, perpendicular lines foldable. So we've experienced parallel and perpendicular lines. We've actually done all of this writing in Algebra 1, this exact lesson we did in Algebra 1, so it should be review. So under the parallel line flap, in a coordinate plane, two non-vertical lines are parallel if and only if they have the same slope. That's how you know two lines are parallel. So let's look at the examples below. So it says, find the slope of any line parallel to the line that goes through 5, 2, and 6, negative 4. Well, once it's parallel, then that means we just have to have the same slope. So I'm going to have my 2 points, and I'm going to call this x2, y2, and we'll just call this one x1, y1. So we have 2 minus negative 4, and 5 minus 6, because it's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, the slope formula. 2 minus negative 4 is 6, and 5 minus 6 is negative 1. And 6 divided by negative 1 is negative 6. So the slope of a line that would be parallel to this line would be negative 6, because parallel lines have the same slope. Okay, so now it wants to know if the slopes, if the lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. So first find the slope of line J. So I'm going to do y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I get 0 over 3, which is just 0. Now I'm going to do the slope for line K. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I get 0 over 2, which is 0. So they both have a slope of 0, therefore they are parallel. And the reason is they have the same slope. All right, let's go take a look up here. So this is underneath the perpendicular lines tab. So in a coordinate plane, two non-vertical lines are perpendicular if the product of their slopes is negative 1. So you can multiply their slopes, and if they multiply and they equal negative 1, then they are perpendicular. Or if their slopes are negative reciprocals. You can also call that opposite reciprocals. So for example, if you have 3/4 and negative 4/3, one's positive, one's negative, they are opposite signs and they're reciprocals of each other. Or if you multiply them, you get negative 12 over 12, which is negative 1. And that's what they mean by the product of their slopes would be negative 1. Okay, so it says, find the slope of any line that's perpendicular to this line. Well, first find this slope. So y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. I end up with 4. That's the slope of that line. So the perpendicular slope, I put the perpendicular symbol and then m. So the perpendicular slope is the negative reciprocal. So change the sign and write the reciprocal. And so you get that the perpendicular slope is negative 1/4. Okay, this one says, write the equation of a line that passes through this point, 3, negative 2, and is perpendicular to y equals negative 3x minus 4. Okay, well, this slope is negative 3. And so that means the perpendicular slope, the slope we need to use, change the sign and do the reciprocal. So it turns positive, and the reciprocal of 3 is 1/3. So this is the slope we're going to use right here. Now we don't ever need this minus 4. It's not important. So we need the point, 3, negative 2, and we need the slope, which is 1/3. So now you use your foldable that we worked on at the beginning of this video. I'm going to go ahead and use slope-intercept, y equals mx plus b. So that foldable said substitute in y, m, x, and b. All right, zoom in so you can see this better. So I substituted all those things in. Now it says to solve for b. So 1/3 times 3 is 1 plus b. Subtract the 1 to the other side. You get negative 3 equals b. So our slope's 1/3, and our b, or our y-intercept, is negative 3. So this equation, 1/3, y equals 1/3 x minus 3, is perpendicular to whatever the line is that was at negative 3x minus 4, and it goes through the point 3, negative 2. We're going to do some more practice on this in just a minute.